All right, hello, my junior classes. I'm going to very briefly go over what we're doing this week, just in case you're absent, just in case you can't make it to a Zoom call. All right, I gotcha. I got you covered right here, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right, so you can see here, we have our class, and if you go to modules, you'll see a few more lessons have opened up for you in Module 4, and we're actually going to be wrapping up Module 4 here. We only have a few more lessons to go, and they're not going to be really lessons, more activities. Activities that are going to help us build our argumentative essay, kind of like what we did before with our I believe essays, with our narratives. We're going to be doing the same, except now we're writing arguments. And you guys have had a lot of practice with this already. Okay, remember all those lessons I've given you about developing claims, backing them up with evidence, and then providing reasoning, explaining that relationship between the claims and the evidence? That's what you're going to be doing here. So if you click on the first activity, the first thing we're doing this week is we're going to develop a counter argument for our thesis statements that we worked on last week. So you'll need to go back in there, you'll need to get that sentence that you made that answers the prompt on whether or not cell phone technology and social media is good for communication or not. Remember, you developed a position and you told me that position in your thesis, and now we're going to make a counter argument for that. And so what you'll do is you'll open up this document down here. Go ahead and make a copy of that. And you'll see two styles of counter argument writing that we'll discuss in our Zoom class. And so we have the set them up and knock them down approach. Now this is where you write a paragraph that includes a counter argument where you first present the counter argument. So remember, counter arguments, they are counter to our argument. Okay, they're what the opposing group believes. Okay, if you believe that pineapples belong on a pizza, a counter argument will consider the side of those who think that pizza should be without pineapple. They're wrong, but that's my example here. Hopefully you know what I mean. And so we see this example right here where the writer comes in and they just start off with the counterclaim. The counterclaim is here in blue. And they present the counterclaim, they present the opposing argument, but then they come back in and they just tear down the opposing argument. They tell you why it's not true. They tell you why their argument is more valid and more important. And I want you guys to practice doing the same thing. And so if you scroll down here, you'll develop a counter argument, okay? And you'll put the argument that is against your thesis. And then you'll come back and you'll restate your thesis. You'll restate your main claim. You'll tell me why that counter argument is wrong. You'll find evidence to back yourself up. And then of course, okay, you can't just have a claim with evidence and not explain it. Okay, so you'll provide reasoning in this box right here. And then there's another method to present a counter argument. This is the sandwich method, and we call it the sandwich method because we start off with our own claim, and then we introduce the counterclaim, and then we tear it down and go back and remind the reader why our claim and our opinion and our argument is more valid than that counterclaim. And so you can see it right here. This paragraph, it begins with a restatement of the claim and why their claim is important. And then it starts off this next segment saying, you know, opponents argue. Okay, now that's a key word right there. Whenever you see the words opponents argue or others may argue, you know that someone's writing a counterclaim. And then what they do is they come back at the very end and they present their own claim again, explaining why the counter argument is wrong. Okay? And so those are just a few examples that you can learn from. I want you to try both methods, and in your essay you can pick the one that works best for you. Okay? So if you go to the next activity, I have a video which you can watch on your own. This video is from the Crash Course people, and they basically just cover the basics of writing an essay. Okay, they give you some good tips, some good strategies. It's a 10-minute video, but it's definitely worth the watch. And then the next thing we'll be working on is making our introduction for our argumentative essay. So just like what we did before with our I believe essays, you are going to open up this document. Okay, there are a few examples of introductory paragraphs. And there are different style approaches that you can use. And so the first one is the anecdote. This is where you begin your essay with a personal experience or a personal story, kind of like what we did in the last essays, only this time you're doing it in the introduction. Okay, you'll talk about your story, you'll bring up a thoughtful question, and then you'll present your thesis that you worked on last week. Okay? The next example is the if, instead, yet introduction. And so what you would do is you would start your introduction paragraph with an if statement. All right, and so in this example, we can read it. If humans were truly at home under the light of the moon and the stars, we would go into darkness happily. The midnight world, as visible as it is to us, is to the vast number of nocturnal species on this planet. Instead, we are diurnal creatures with eyes adapted to living in the sun's light. This is a basic evolutionary fact. Even the most of us don't think of ourselves as diurnal beings any more than we think of ourselves as primates, mammals, or earthlings. Yet, it's the only way to explain what we've done to the night. We've engineered it to receive us by filling it with light. And so you can see in this example right here, they use the if. Okay, they start off with an if statement. They follow it with an instead. So they kind of play with a hypothetical here. They say, you know, if not this, then we could do this. And then they bring in a yet. And then they introduce their thesis. Okay, we've engineered it to receive us by filling it with light. So the argument that they're making is that, you know, we're naturally, you know, awake during the day. Okay, and you can definitely use this strategy for your own personal thesis statements. And of course, there are a few more style examples down here. I want you to try each and every one of them. And of course, I'm going to be talking about these in more detail in class. So make sure that you show up. All right, when you're done with your introduction, okay, you can start working on the conclusion. Now we're going to skip straight from our introduction right to the conclusion because they essentially do the same job. They remind the reader what's going on in your story. Okay, whereas your introduction introduces the topic of your story, your conclusion comes in and reminds the reader about what they just read. And oftentimes it is done by repeating what you say in the introduction. Okay, and so you'll open up this document right here. And in this, just like before, it shows you several examples of different conclusion paragraphs. And it has you fill out charts. And just like before, you'll go in and you'll fill in the blanks in a way that fits your thesis, your argument for your essay. Okay, and so you'll just read the examples and you'll fill in the blanks. It's that easy, and by the time it's all said and done, you should have a strong conclusion paragraph here in the very bottom box. Okay, if you go to the next page, this is where we'll be working on our essay. And so we've talked a little bit about MLA style format. That's what this essay needs to be in. And luckily for you, it's already in that shape, so you don't have to worry about it. You'll just go in, you'll fill in the blanks. And I want you to at least give me 4 paragraphs to this essay. Now, if you feel like you can't really cover your argument in just 4 paragraphs, you're welcome to do multiple body paragraphs. You can do more than 2. But I am asking for at least 2 body paragraphs here. And just like what we learned with our I Believe essays, you're going to follow that CER or that CER-ER format. It's going to help you out. So if you need to look at my other videos, I talk about it there. And this is going to be your final. Okay, this is going to be it. Okay, I'm accepting an essay as your final. And I've set up the class pace to where you can finish this before we leave for our 2-week break. So hopefully you take advantage of this time. Hopefully you are proactive with how you manage your time. And of course, if you need any help with writing, I am here to help you. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help if you need it. Okay? So I look forward to seeing you guys in our Zoom calls. Thank you for watching and have a fabulous week. Okay? See you later.